Alright, YouTube, we're going to do a complete teardown of a Samsung FlexDry Drier. I didn't see any of their YouTube videos on it. It's a little bit more complicated than your standard dryer, and yeah, we'll get right into it. I'll try to link any of the maintenance parts and the drum, which is what failed on mine. The drum cracked. In this video, I'll have short clips that show you how to replace the rollers and the idler pulley, the belt, and the drum. So all of the things that tend to break on these dryers. As some of you may know, Samsung is in the middle of a class action lawsuit. This drum is evidently made out of very thin metal. So decide for yourself if it's worth repairing. I think for me, I'm going to, just because I like to tinker with things. Let's take off the door for the top dryer. Next to the hinge, I'll try to point it out in the video when I edit later. You're going to take those screws out, and you'll notice, right, I'm going to cut in the video periodically to give some insight. There's rubber grommets, 3 on the upper tub and 2 that hold the control panel up. You'll take all 5 of those rubber grommets out, and then take off the Phillips head screws to loosen. Cool. So we're going to take the top panel off there. Pull straight up in the front. There are 3 screws in the back. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see the 3 screws back there. Comes off. Take the metal panel off there on the back. There's a few screws on the bottom. The metal panel on the back lifts straight up. Most of that top dryer is actually going to stay in one piece. I'll show you the 4 screws here, right? 2 on the left, 2 on the right. You'll take those out. That will detach the back of the top dryer from the bottom dryer. Now that the screws are loose, see that the back of your top dryer is completely detached. Make sure that from here on out, make sure that your plug and your vent ducting are disconnected from your dryer at this time. Now we'll start fiddling with the front. Or those 2 rubber grommety things, take those out. The control panel has 2 screws, Phillips head, 1 on each side. Just be sure not to drop any screws in the unit while you've got it cracked open. Alright, be sure to unplug these and try to remember where they go. They only fit one way, so it's not terribly difficult, but the 2 blue clips there, you possibly could mismatch those. If you do, the control panel, fortunately, is relatively simple to take off. And here I sort of, you take off the thing that sits under the hinge, but you actually don't need to start removing that inner tub. So I'm taking these screws off. I don't need to. So if you're watching this, just leave the tub as it is. You'll see the next few steps where we get the top tub taken out. don't do this. You don't need to do it. Cool. Now we're going to start taking the front of the unit off. There's 2 screws here, 2 on the top. They've got a little metal clip. You do want to take out that little tray, but not the tub. You can see now that that front, or that top dryer is actually going to be ready to pull out as soon as we get a couple more pieces taken off. I'm just a little impatient, thinking maybe I can rip it out. I can't. There's screws holding it on still in the front. So again, those 2 screws on all the way to the side of the top are off. There's 1 screw there, 1 screw there. There's going to be some after we open the door as well. Going to be right next to where that lint collector is. Now the doors doesn't need to come off. I decided to flip which way the door rotated, so I'm going to eventually take it off. Had a hard time getting it loose from the retaining screw. Here, okay, front of the unit's off. There's a little wire there. Don't know what it's for. Again, I'm not an appliance repair guy. I just started taking things out of my way to get to the drum. So there is a little piece of metal that is sort of a shroud for the circuit board. Again, we're gonna get to the point now where the circuit board is obviously probably expensive to replace. Also, you don't want to have to take this thing apart. So just be careful from here on out. You should be careful the whole time, but anyhow. So that's where all the brains are. You'll see there's going to be a couple of screws and some electrical stuff keeping that top dryer still attached to the bottom. Once we get that out of the way, we will be looking at just any dryer, just any old dryer, right? There we go. So we're loose. We will end up disconnecting all of those wires going from the top dryer to the bottom. But I thought maybe I had enough space, but I don't, because I've got to take that whole shroud that separates the two out of the way. Right, so we've got two cords there, at least 1 there, and then 2 on all the way to the left. Now, just remember, take a photo or figure out where they go. I think they only fit in one place, and it will be obvious if you crank this thing on and it doesn't work the right way. So now we're going to take this little shroud thing off. We'll be looking at the drum and the belt. We'll also take the brains of this machine out of the way and drape them over that baby gate. There's the drum. You guys can probably see that drum is already new, that belt's already new. I did this video because I did this whole job, replaced the rollers, replaced the idler pulley, the belt, and the drum, and then I realized that I had used the old screw for the idler pulley. So, here we are. Taking the brains out. There's a little zip tie-y looking things on the left. We're going to unhook those, and this thing will be all the way out of our way. Okay, the front rollers are attached to this big metal thing that I'm taking off now. So you may have to lift the drum slightly to get this thing out. There's also going to be a lint collector thing right there. You'll take the 3 screws off of that. Good deal. So, taking these 3 screws off of the lint collector. There's a little plug there. Don't forget to take that out. You won't go far without taking it out anyways. Realizing now there's a lot of dead space in this video, I may edit out before I'm done with it. To get the belt loose, you'll pull the idler pulley to the left and up and take the belt off the idler pulley. You can then pull the belt all the way out of your way and then lift the dryer drum out of the unit. Again, I've already done this. That's a new drum, it's a new belt. I'm just replacing the screw in the idler pulley. Now we're just going to look at where the idler pulley is and where the motor is. It's impossible to get a camera in that area, so I'm going to have a very short video in a little bit that sort of talks about where the belt goes and how to align it the right way. Here I'm just taking the screw out for the idler pulley to replace it. I noticed after I had put everything together and started the dryer up, it was still making a weird noise. Sort of researched online and found that if you don't put the new screw in that came with the new idler pulley, you can find yourself with a loose idler pulley, and that will make a little clunking noise. That's the idler pulley. Takes a little bit of finagling to get the idler pulley on there the right way. It has a little metal lip that fits into a groove, and it has a screw you got to put in. Of course, the spring So remember that spring is pulling down, so we want to put the belt on top of it and put it onto the motor itself. Alright, and just for this idler pulley, you're going to wrap the ribbed end around the motor. And you're going to put the belt around just like that, so that way the idler pulley is pulling that belt down, and then you're going to put it around the drum. Alright, if you're going to have this thing cracked open, you should also replace your rollers, just because you're there and it's a pain in the butt to take everything back out just because the roller decided to fail. Also, the roller could be the reason that you have a cracked drum in the first place. There's a little triangle, you pop that off and pop on the new roller. The studs, there's going to be 2 on the back, 2 on the front. You get the new triangle on there, and you've got a new roller. And we're just going to, I demonstrated this on my desk. It's impossible to see what's going on. I have to reach my arm all the way through the unit. We're going to pull the idler pulley to the left. Make sure the ribbed end is on top of is facing the drum and also on the motor. You'll pull the top part of, so the part that is coming down on the belt, you'll pull that, so that way the smooth end of that is on the bottom of the idler. Recommend to make sure you've got everything on. Make sure you've got all of the both of the rollers on the back properly situated on the back of the drum. Once you've got that, we'll move on to our next step. Maybe at this point you can stop watching the video and just do everything in reverse. I do have some of the reassembly here, starting with the front roller and the little piece of metal that I'm putting back on. Again, guys, I'm not an appliance guy. I couldn't tell you what the name of most of these parts are, but I will tell you that when I finished this video, my dryer, or excuse me, when I finished this repair, my dryer worked fine. So there's a couple of clips. So there's 4 clips and 4 screws that hold this guy back on. Since the dryer is basically in pieces, you do have to sort of finagle, get the clips in first, and then you can attach those appliance screws. You'll also make sure you put the lint cover back on, and you'll see that in just a little bit. Just make sure here that you can hear that the drum is spinning, not making a whole lot of noise. Make sure all of the rollers are properly situated on the drum. again, the reassembly is just the opposite of disassembly. So if you've already stopped watching, cool, whatever. But we got the control panel back on, the front roller holder thing back on, and we'll just keep on going. So just remember with this shroud thing, the top hole on both sides does not go into the control panel area. It will actually screw into the top dryer. Cool. If you're watching this section, you might be interested to know how to change the orientation of the door. It's actually really simple. The hinge can go on either side, but the little keeper thing that the door fits into when you close it, you've got to swap that from one side to the other. You can watch this if you want to, but that should be it. If you're here, that means you've finished. Your dryer's back together. Hopefully it works fine. I'm not a content creator, so I'm sure this video isn't aesthetically pleasing, but hopefully it helps someone. Like I said, I'll link the maintenance kit and the drum and the belt and all that in the comments somewhere. Thanks.